In today's video, I want to talk about one simple G-code command, G92. Let's go. G92 has the somewhat uninteresting name of set position in the Marlin firmware documents, so it's really easy to miss, but you shouldn't. It's potentially one of the most useful G-code commands that we can leverage to customize our already generated G-code. In other words, it's a good command for tinkering. If you don't know already, I'll just briefly explain that G-code is the language that your printer understands. When you put your STL model into your slicer and you slice it and you generate a G-code file, that's what you send to the printer, and that is a plain text file you can open in Notepad with a list of potentially human-readable commands, meaning readable to nerds like me. But I think everyone should try to learn G-code. It's not hard. In fact, I did a survey recently, and I got a feeling that a lot of you want to master or learn G-code, so expect more of these videos in the future. What the G92 command does is actually simple. G92 resets the axis or axes you specify to the place you specify. I'll explain with an analogy. You're, let's say, lining up boxes in a warehouse because your boss has pointed to an area in the warehouse to put the boxes, and he said start putting the boxes here. You put a few boxes down and you're working away, and then your boss comes in, and as bosses always do, he tells you no, not there, idiot, who told you to put them there? Do that again and you're fired. And he points to another part of the room and tells you to put them there from now on. So what do? From that point on, you start lining the boxes up in the same exact way, in the same pattern, but from the new location. What your boss has done here is reset your start location for placing the boxes, and that's what G92 does. Here's a calibration cube G-code. We all know what this is supposed to look like. I'm going to just print the top couple of layers of it for expedience and to show how this works. I will place it somewhere on the left of the bed for reasons that will become obvious momentarily. Now, if I go into the G-code, you can see that we have some start G-code first. This is your actual Cura start code just pasted in here. But then after that, you get to layer 0, and it's marked with a comment. That's the semicolon commands. This is where the actual print starts. If I cut and paste everything from the start here to the end here, which is where you typically see something like time elapsed, I'll paste another copy of all of this underneath it, and at the beginning of the second copy I'll put in two commands, the first one being a go to an X position and the second one being a G92 command. When I print it, you will get not one cube piece, but you'll get two identical cube pieces, one to the right of the other. What I've done here is I've told the printer to move to a new position on the bed to the right, and then I've told it this is now 0. I'm redefining the area it prints in, essentially. Notice that I supplied only the x-axis parameters with my G92. This is one of the features of the command. You could supply any number of x, y, z, or e. Another cool trick, if your purge line is too far to the left in your start code, you could just insert a command to move maybe 10 units to the right, and then redefine that as x equals 0. I have this issue on my Neptune 2S where the x stop and the bed don't quite line up. You could try and change the purge line, but you can also just put these two lines in, and it will solve it. One thing you see a lot in G-code, in fact you probably saw it a moment ago, is the command G92E0. This is for the extruder. The extruder tends to run in what's called absolute mode in Cura. I think it's less so in Prusa Slicer. What this means though is it keeps a constant record of its exact position throughout at least most of the print. How far it's extruded since it was last reset, which is often the beginning of the print itself. It's useful to know that it's doing this, because if you ever want to issue an extrude command directly in the terminal, maybe you've fallen for this in the past at some point where you try to extrude with, say, G1E100, and the extruder has, instead of extruding 100 millimeters, it's retracted a huge amount, and that could be confusing. It's doing this because it's in absolute mode, and the position it was when you asked it to go to 100 isn't necessarily 0. In fact, it's effectively a random number. You can get around this by resetting it first with G92E0, then the extrude command will work. By the way, since this is a video about G-code, it seems like a good time to point out that I made this. It's pretty simple, but it's useful. It's a quick reference sheet that has most of the popular G-code commands on it. I made this a while back and I shared it with the Patreon subscribers. If you are a patron, then you can pop over there and download this and print it out and fold it into 4 and stick it in the drawer under your printer if it fits. So let's talk about start G-code. You want to change your Z offset in start code? Once you know how G92 works, it's easy. The usual method of doing this is by some weird subtraction method to avoid negative numbers, I guess. So if you want your first layer to be raised by 0.3mm, in your start code, move the Z-axis up to Z 0.3, so it's at the point where you want it to be when it starts the print, and then tell the printer that this is now 0. This will work exactly the same though if you raise the Z-axis up to 10.3 and told it, no, this is actually 10, because you can supply a parameter to G92. So all the commands that you see on screen now are actually equivalent, and they would all add a 0.3mm offset. For a negative offset, same thing. You can move up to say Z equals 1 and then tell the printer, no, this is actually 0.7. Congratulations! If you did this and you didn't need to, you can now scratch a 0.3mm deep line into your bed surface. Of course, it's a reasonable logical leap to take this concept and say, what if I want to print on top of something? What if I want to print on top of an existing print or just an object? Just generate your normal G-code and then in the top of that G-code, open it in Notepad, and before it starts the printing section, just issue the same commands. Move up to where you really want the print to start and issue an M92 to gaslight the printer into thinking that it's now at Z equals 0. There's probably a million other uses of G92 that I haven't mentioned in this video, so if you use it for anything else, let me know in the comments. Is this video useful? I could do more short G-code based videos in the future if you want. I'll probably do them even if you don't want, but let me know in the comments. Also, yeah, the stepper motors video is still coming. Hang on a second. There you go. That's the lineup. At least until the lineup changes again. I'm going to be releasing a lot of videos in the next few weeks, so make sure that you're subscribed. I am talking to you 80% of people who aren't subscribed. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.